Then we get into the ultimate question. And again, you're going to want to use the language based on your training and experience. Officer, did you form an opinion as to whether or not the defendant was impaired by alcohol? You're going to want to have the officer explain that his opinion was based on all of his observations: driving, physical clues, odor of an alcoholic beverage, slurred speech, glassy bloodshot eyes, performance on the HGN, the walk and turn, and the one-leg stand. All of those clues. Did they form an opinion based on everything? And the officer should say yes. Based on their training and experience, their opinion was yes, the defendant was impaired by alcohol. This is called totality of the circumstances. This again will dispel the idea that if a person had a physical impairment and couldn't do well on one of the tests, that the officer failed them. Well, it's not like that. It's a battery of tests, and that's why we do so many tests on these people before the officer comes to a conclusion that they should be placed under arrest. One of the other questions in my jury trials with my officers, I always ask them is, Officer, how much time did you spend with the defendant from the very first moment that you encountered them out on the roadway to the very last moment in which you booked them into the county jail? How much time passed? I think this is important because I don't think the jury would realize how much time these DUI investigations take. If you ask most of your police officers, they're usually 2 to 3 hours long. So you can make the point to your jury, hey folks, this officer spent 2 to 3 hours with the defendant, Mr. Mason, on the night in question. And then you follow up that question by saying, Officer, during that 2.5 hour time frame, did your opinion ever change to suggest to you that the defendant was not under the influence of alcohol? And the answer will be no. One of the other things you'll need to cover with your officer on direct examination is the in-car video, the DVD. You need to have your officer lay the foundation for the DVD to get it into evidence. First of all, the officer is going to explain how the recording system works. You'll want to ask your officer if he has watched the recording prior to coming to trial. And then the most important foundation question is asking your officer if the recording that they've just watched is an accurate recording of the events as they transpired on the date in question, on the date that the defendant was arrested. And then you'll ask to play your tape. You'll want to ask your officer to step down from the witness stand after having asked the court permission for him to do so that he can narrate portions of the video. And then also, don't ever forget to offer your video into evidence.